Welcome to Hope Talks, where we share healing options for personal excellence. I'm Olivia B.,
And I'm Quincy T.
and we're so glad you're here. Today, we're diving into something simple but powerful: journaling. Ever feel like adulting is basically just a never ending cycle of stress and like anxieties and worries?
Oh, yeah, totally. I think we all have those days where it's just like one thing after another. And
It's like you just want to crawl back into bed and pull the covers over your head. And
right, like where's that teenage diary when you need it?
seriously, that thing was like my lifeline back in the day.
Right? You could just pour all your emotions in there, all that teenage drama.
Exactly. You know those secret crushes and fights with friends and like the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah, all that stuff that felt so huge at the
And
time.
it's funny because in a way, journaling as an adult is kind of like that same thing,
Oh, it totally is.
Like it's that safe space to unpack all those big feelings, but now you've got like all this adult experience to add to the
Right?
mix.
Like you're bringing a whole new level of perspective to it.
And honestly, it can be such a game changer, especially when it comes to dealing with all the stuff that comes with being a grown
It's
up.
true.
The never-ending to-do lists and the pressure and, like, just the general chaos of
Yeah,
life.
for sure.
So in this deep dive, we're gonna explore how journaling can actually help us understand and manage all those big feelings and ultimately, like, boost our well-being.
And I think what's so cool about journaling is that it seems so simple, like just writing stuff down, but it
Right?
actually has some pretty powerful psychological effects.
Totally. Yeah, let's break that down.
Okay, so think about it when you're in the middle of a really intense emotion.
Okay.
Like it can feel so overwhelming, right?
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
it's consuming you and you don't know what to do with it.
It's like your brain is on overdrive,
Exactly. And that's where journaling comes in. It gives you a healthy way to express those emotions instead of just bottling them up.
which we all know is not a good idea.
Right. It's like giving yourself permission to feel those feelings and get them out in a safe way.
So it's not about ignoring the tough stuff, it's about actually acknowledging it and working through it.
Exactly. And when you do that, it can have some amazing benefits like reducing anxiety.
Okay, so let's talk about anxiety because I think that's something so many of us struggle with. It's like a constant in our lives.
Right. So, how does journaling actually help with that?
Yeah, like what's the connection there?
Well, one of the main ways it helps is by bringing order to that mental chaos.
Okay,
When you write down your anxieties, you're basically taking them out of your head and putting them on paper.
right.
And that act of making them concrete can instantly make them feel less scary. It's like untangling a knot. When you write things down, you can start to see the individual threads of your worry.
That's a great analogy.
And once you see those individual threads, you can address them one by one.
Right. It's not just this big, overwhelming mess anymore.
Exactly. And that can lead to a huge reduction in stress as well.
Okay, so stress and anxiety kind of go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, how does journaling help us deal with the stress part of the equation?
Well, stress often comes from feeling like we're not in control.
Yeah, like we're just being swept along by events.
Right. And journaling helps you regain that sense of control because it allows you to identify the specific things that are stressing you out.
Okay, so it's like a way to pinpoint the sources of your stress.
Exactly. And once you know what those sources are, you can start to brainstorm solutions or come up with coping mechanisms.
It's like taking back the power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can also be incredibly helpful for dealing with more persistent issues like depression.
Yeah, that's something that I think a lot of people hesitate to talk about,
Yeah, it can feel really isolating.
but it's so important to address.
Absolutely. And journaling can be a really valuable tool for managing those feelings of sadness and hopelessness.
So how does it work in that context?
Well, one way is by helping you track your mood over time.
Okay.
If you regularly write down how you're feeling, you might start to notice patterns.
Right. Like are there certain times of day or situations where you tend to feel worse?
Exactly. And that kind of awareness can be really empowering because it helps you identify your triggers,
And once you know your triggers, you can start to develop strategies for coping with them.
right? And journaling also provides a space for positive self talk.
Oh, that's so important.
It is because when you're depressed, it's easy to get stuck in those negative thought patterns.
Like that inner critic that just won't shut up.
Exactly. And journaling gives you a chance to challenge those thoughts and reframe them in a more positive light.
So it's like giving yourself a pep talk on paper.
Yeah. And over time, that can start to shift your overall mindset.
It's like rewiring your brain for positivity.
Exactly. And you mentioned tracking symptoms earlier.
Yeah.
And that's another really important benefit of journaling. It allows you to see how your mood and your physical symptoms are connected.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is because sometimes those connections aren't obvious until you start paying attention. For example, maybe you notice you get headaches right before a deadline at work.
Oh, yeah. I can definitely relate to that.
Or maybe you find that you have trouble sleeping when you're feeling anxious. And by tracking those patterns, you can start to identify the things that are contributing to your overall well being.
And then make changes accordingly.
Exactly. And this could be especially helpful for managing conditions like anxiety, bipolar disorder, ADHD, or PMDD, just to name a few.
Okay. So we've talked about the benefits of journaling, but how do you actually get started?
Well, the great thing about journaling is that there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Well, that's good to know.
It's all about finding what works best for you, but there are some different approaches you can try.
Like what?
So, one common approach is expressive journaling, which is basically just writing freely about whatever's on your mind.
So just letting it all flow out onto the page.
Exactly. No censoring, no editing, just pure stream of consciousness.
And like we're doing right now. And this can be especially helpful for processing difficult experiences.
It's like giving yourself a space to work through trauma or grief or any other heavy emotions.
And it can be really cathartic to just release those emotions without judgment.
It can. And a good tip for this type of journaling is to set a timer for like 15 minutes and just write continuously without stopping.
Okay, so don't overthink it, just write.
Exactly. And another popular approach is gratitude journaling.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, this one's all about focusing on the good things in your life.
So, like making a list of things you're grateful for.
Exactly. And it might seem simple, but research has shown that it can have a really positive impact on your mental health.
Really?
Yeah, it's a thought to work by shifting your focus away from negativity and towards positivity.
It's like training your brain to look for the good stuff.
Exactly. And over time, that can lead to a more optimistic outlook and greater feelings of happiness.
That's awesome.
And then there's cognitive behavioral journaling, which is a more structured approach.
Okay, tell me more about that one.
So this one's all about identifying and challenging negative thought pattern.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you basically break down a situation into its components.
Right.
Like what happened, what was your thought about it, what feeling did that thought create, and then you look for any cognitive distortions that might be at play.
Cognitive distortions, what are those?
They're basically like thinking traps,
Okay.
like ways that your brain can distort reality and make things seem worse than they are.
Give me an example.
Sure. So one common cognitive distortion is catastrophizing.
Catastrophizing. That sounds intense.
It can be. It's basically when you automatically assume the worst possible outcome is going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, we all do it to some extent, but it's not helpful.
Right, because it just creates more anxiety.
Exactly. So in cognitive behavioral journaling, you would identify the distortion and then work on developing a more balanced and realistic thought.
So it's like retraining your brain to think more rationally.
Exactly. And that could be really helpful for reducing anxiety and improving your mood.
That makes sense.
Another approach is mood and symptom tracking, which we touched on earlier.
Right.
This is where you regularly record your daily mood, any triggers, you notice your energy levels, and any physical or emotional symptoms you're experiencing.
Mm.
And this can help you see patterns and make connections between your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors.
So it's like a detective for your own mental health.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find daily writing overwhelming, you can always use symbols or emojis to track your mood.
Oh, that's a good idea. It makes it feel less daunting.
That's right. And speaking of feeling less daunting, there's also affirmation journaling.
Affirmation journaling? What's that?
So this involves writing down or repeating positive statements about yourself.
Okay.
And the goal is to boost your self-esteem and counteract negative self-talk.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And you can even amplify the effect by looking in the mirror while you repeat the affirmations or reading them aloud with intention.
So it's like giving those positive statements more power.
Exactly. And if you're more of a visual person, there's also art journaling.
I love art.
Yeah, this is where you use doodles, drawings, colors, and even collages alongside or instead of traditional writing.
Oh, that sounds fun.
It's a great way to express yourself if words feel limiting or if you just enjoy being creative.
And finally, you mentioned prompted journaling.
Yes, so this is where you respond to specific questions or prompts designed to encourage reflection.
Okay.
And this could be a great option for beginners or for anyone who wants a little more structure in their journaling practice.
Hey, Hope Crew! As a thank you for tuning in, we created something special just for you. a free journaling prompt generator over on our website. Whether you're processing emotions, planning your next move, or just trying to make sense of a messy day, this tool gives you instant prompts to help you reflect, release, and reconnect with yourself. Because sometimes all it takes is the right question to unlock the answers you've been carrying all along. Head to hopetherapyva.com/journaling for mental health to try it out. And if you're reflecting with us today, drop the word unpacked in the comments below so we know you're doing the work.
So there are a lot of different ways to approach journaling.
There are. It's all about finding what works best for you and your needs.
And if writing feels like a barrier, are there any modifications you can make?
Absolutely. Journaling doesn't have to be perfect prose. You can use bullet points, keywords, or even just short lists.
Okay, good to
And
know.
if writing is really difficult, you can always try voice notes or dictation software.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and you can also incorporate visuals like stickers or magazine clippings or even just doodles.
So get creative with it.
Exactly. And remember, even a single sentence or a quick sketch is better than nothing.
Right, it's about the process, not the product.
Exactly. And if privacy is a concern, you can use a secure digital journaling app or just discard your physical pages after you've written them.
Okay, those are all really helpful tips. Now, what about the tools themselves? Is there a difference between using pen and paper versus a digital app?
Well, they both have their pros and cons. Pen and paper engages your fine motor skills and can feel more personal and intimate.
Yeah, I can see that.
And there's some research that suggests that writing by hand can actually activate more neural pathways related to memory and emotional processing.
Wow, that's
It is.
fascinating.
But digital journaling offers the convenience of being easily searchable, and many apps include helpful features like prompts and mood tracking.
Right, so it's kind of a
Yeah,
trade-off.
and voice dictation can be a great option if you find writing difficult or time consuming.
So it really comes down to personal
It
preference.
does. The most important thing is to choose a medium that you'll actually use consistently.
That makes sense now. I remember reading somewhere that simply expressing your emotions in a journal isn't always enough. There's another step involved, right?
Yes, you're right. It's not just about venting, it's about processing those emotions and gaining insights from them.
Okay, so how we do that?
Well, it involves taking a step back and looking at your entries with a more objective eye.
Okay,
Like, what patterns are you noticing? What are your
right.
entries telling you about your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors?
And are there any connections you can make between your inner world and your outer world?
Exactly. It's about making observations, noticing patterns, and then using those insights to make changes in your life.
So it's like turning your journal into a tool for self-discovery.
Exactly. And that's where the real magic happens.
It's like you're becoming your own therapist.
In a way, yeah.
This is all so insightful. Thinking about the power of journaling, it reminds me of a time when I was going through a major career
Oh,
transition.
yeah?
I had quit my job and I was feeling totally lost and uncertain about the future.
That's a tough place to be.
It was, and I was so overwhelmed with anxiety, I didn't know what to do with myself.
So, what did you do?
Well, a friend suggested I try journaling. And at first, I was resistant because it felt like just one more thing to add to my already overflowing plate.
Yeah, I get that.
But I finally decided to give it a try, and I started small, just writing down a few bullet points each day about how I was feeling and what I was thinking about. And to my surprise, even those little snippets started to reveal patterns I hadn't been aware of.
Really?
Yeah, I started to see the specific fears that were holding me back and the negative self talk that was undermining my confidence.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was. And as I continued journaling, I gained a sense of clarity that I hadn't had before.
Like you were able to see your problems more objectively.
Exactly. And it didn't magically solve all my problems, but it gave me a sense of direction and helped me identify small, manageable steps I could take to move forward.
That's powerful.
It was like journaling gave me a roadmap out of that dark and confusing place.
And I think that's a great example of how journaling can be a really valuable tool for navigating challenging times.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that journaling is just one piece of the puzzle,
Right, it's not a cure all.
but it can be a really important part of a healthy lifestyle,
It can, and it works best when combined with other self care practices.
like getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, and managing stress.
Exactly. All those things contribute to our overall well being, and journaling can support those efforts by increasing self awareness.
So, to wrap things up, we've learned that journaling is an incredibly powerful tool for self expression and mental health,
It is.
and there's no one right way to do it.
Exactly. You can write, you can speak, you can draw, whatever works best for you.
The most important thing is to find an approach that you enjoy and that you can stick with.
And as we've seen, even a few minutes of journaling each day can make a big difference.
It can. It's like giving yourself the gift of self reflection.
And that's a gift that keeps on giving.
So we'll leave you with this thought.
How might carving out even a few moments each day to connect with your inner world through journaling shift your perspective and enhance your understanding of yourself?
What small step can you take today to explore this practice and see what insights it might unlock?
We encourage you to give it a try. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the power of journaling.